there's gonna be a lot on the island tomorrow. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna go when the volcano blows. Well, I don't wanna land in New York City. I wanna land in no Mexico. Don't wanna land in no 3 Mile Island. Don't wanna see my skin blow. Don't wanna land in Comanche, Skyport, or in Nashville, Tennessee. Don't wanna land in no San Juan Airport or the Yukon Territory. Don't wanna land in no San Diego. Don't wanna land in no Buzzards Bay. Don't wanna land in no Iowa. I ain't got nothing more to say. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Hey everybody, happy Thursday night. Wes Seiler here with Preserved of Our Live, and Mr. Skip Orth is in the building. Good to see you, Skip. Thanks for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, we've known each other for a while, back and forth through emails and different organizations and stuff, but I'm excited to get some time with you just to talk through all the things that you're doing, all that you're a part of, and hopefully glean some wisdom.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're somebody that I've followed since I moved here, and we're going to talk about books, we're going to talk about nonprofits, we're going to talk about his business. So a whole lot of stuff to get into. So a treasure trove of information coming at you. But this is a live show, so let me know if the audio's coming through, if the feed is coming through for you guys. So for you, Skip, I know we were just talking about kind of how we set this up over the past few weeks.
Right.
We've built this so that it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, we put it out on Instagram, we email it out as well. So we really try to spread it throughout the community, get folks to watch. We see all the comments. So it looks like Nancy just jumped in. She said the sound is good. That's great. So if you've got comments throughout the show, just type them in on the comment bar. We'll bring them up. We'll talk through them. So if you got stuff for Skip that you want to hear about, you want to ask, let me know, because we go through each and every comment on this show. So
Good.
It's a lot of fun. There are, we were talking before the show started that, you know, we're trying to do this in a professional way, but, you know, a lot of us have got, you know, jobs and stuff like that we're doing during the week. So this is a kind of a part-time type deal that we do, but we've got some sponsors that help us make it as professional as possible, that donate the space and the lights and all the stuff that we get. One of those is Stripes. I know you know this guy, Robert Reyes, so a friend of ours, and I put one of his specials on there. I love going to his place, one of several restaurants in the area.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. And the specials that they do, I save up money for this. So, you know, like, you know, eating out is expensive. So when we do it, it's like, it's a treat.
Absolutely,
And that's what I'm looking forward to. That's one of his mahi-mahi and asparagus and crab cake specials that he's got this weekend. So really appreciate Robert and what he does for the show, making this possible. He's also got a bunch of events that are going on this weekend. So take a look at some of the comedians he's got. I love that, because there's only so many places to go for entertainment in Navarre, but Stripes is one of them with the folks that he brings in. So they got tickets on sale you can take a look at. There were some really cool events on the beach last week. I'm sure there's going to be some as the summer goes on, concerts, the whole thing. So
Excellent.
That's one of them. Yep, absolutely. And then another one of our sponsors that we picked up is a local publicist named Chaz, who runs a company called Divergence. So Chaz has been helping with the lights and all that stuff and the camera, kind of teaching this amateur how to do this. So really appreciate what he's doing for us. The other thing that we do, Skip, on this show every single time is we love to talk about the local heroes in Navarre. That's really why we do this show. Is because a lot of folks, you know, that move from other places. I know we're going to talk about that with you coming from Iowa. For me, I came from Tennessee, you know, knew this was a place where people go on vacation, but I had no idea just the richness of the culture and the type of people that live in Navarre. So there's several of them. So we already talked about Robert Reyes, but Rick Landreth, Michael Carter, Kevin Lucas is another one. You got businessmen out here, businesswomen. You've got athletes. You've got rock stars in the military, especially in the special operations community, just incredible people in Navarre. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's what makes this, you know, this show fun, is talking through that. So I love to hear from folks as to who the people, you know, they are that they look up to. But we're gonna get into that with you, especially. So it's gonna be fun.
Good.
But yeah, so when I talk about like, you know, us knowing each other a little bit, for me, most of that has been seeing your post online, because I think you do this almost every day, and it's always encouraging. So let me know for you guys following it if you've seen what I'm talking about, because the Skip that I think that I see is the Skip that most people see, right? and it's an encourager. It's someone who puts out stuff like this. So I'm going to read this for you guys so you know what I'm talking about. Looks like Tom jumped in as well. Appreciate that, Tom. This was a prayer that I think you posted a couple of years ago or last year. You said, Father God, I pray for everyone I'm connected to here on Facebook. I pray for the dreams they are pursuing to be fulfilled. I pray for wisdom to make correct decisions. I pray for wounds to be healed, and I pray for needs to be met. Most of all, I pray they would sense the intense love you have for each one of them, along with your desire for them to succeed and prosper. Amen. So, typically when you go on Facebook, that's not what you see, right? Like you see like jokes, you see like people selling stuff, you see a lot of like self-promotion, and then there's Skip out here, just a light on social media. So can you talk to me about that? I don't know if you remember writing that post in particular. It's just one that I happen to pick out.
Yeah.
But how do you approach social media as vitriolic as it is today?
Yeah.
And come at it like that?
Well, Wes, I really just have a heart to see people succeed. And I think that comes from everything that I've been through personally. I've been through, in my life, I've experienced tragedy, a lot of struggles, and I've been able to glean a lot from those experiences. And I truly enjoy the opportunity to take some of what I've learned and put it into the lives of other people.
Nice.
And, I don't, social media gives me that opportunity.
Yeah.
And whenever I make posts like this, I kind of picture myself where I was at one point in time. And I say to myself, well, what would I say to me back when I was going through those struggles or whatever? And then I just come up with those posts and share it that way.
I love that, because what you're describing is a sense of optimism and a sense of strength that has been tested. Right? It's not just this like happy-go-lucky, like have a nice day, right? There's something more to it. There's some strength, and I think, and our world needs that today. Especially like the youth of today, right? Like kids that are coming up, because there's so much confusion, especially on social media. Because I remember when I was a kid, you had maybe like a couple dozen channels on TV, only a few that did news, right? And it was like, do you agree with CNN or do you agree with Fox? Right? And that was about it. Maybe there's one or two other ones, and there's two perspectives, and you got to think about it. Now, I mean, I'm scared to death. If I got young kids, they're going to get phones at some point, I'm sure. Hopefully not soon. And then they're bombarded with everyone, 50,000 perspectives the minute that you log into any platform of any kind.
Absolutely.
And so coming back to the principles that matter, right? And the thoughts that matter, right? Have the strength to hold on to that. Here's another one. He said, Dear God, I'm not asking you to make my life easier, but please give me the strength and courage to face all my struggles. Amen. I think that speaks to what you were just saying.
Right. And, one of the things that I discovered through some of the things I've gone through is that, we don't necessarily, it's not productive a lot of times just to pray that those struggles go away. But the strength to make it through the struggles is always available. Yeah. It's always there. Yeah. So the struggle may not go away, but the strength, the faith, the courage, the tenacity, the whatever it takes to go through those struggles is there. Yeah. And if we just ask for it, then we receive what we need.
Yeah. No, I see the wisdom, right? I can see where this comes from, which is really cool. I love that. This is kind of like the don't pray for easy lives, pray to be stronger men, right? I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. And it's descriptive of our community, but I talked about the heroes. If you look at these folks that we talked about, I mean, these are all people that have overcome enormous stuff. When I had Robert on here, he was talking about the struggles in becoming a business owner, leaving the military, and then it was a whole different world. Kevin's talked about the struggles of his business. He's in the medical field of overcoming stigmas and people not understanding what he's trying to do. I mean, I could go through any one of these. Michael Carter, he's in a Cardinals uniform. Before that, he was with the Jets, and then they traded him, and now he's going to reinvent himself in a whole new city. So it's meaningful to folks. And what I love about how you do this, Skip, is wherever you're at in life, right? This type of encouragement helps. I've read your stuff from East Africa, being deployed. I've read it from down the street. I'm hearing it now.
Yeah. But
this is applicable at all times. You do an amazing job of doing that. And then there's this. This is the fun stuff. And I think you said this earlier, but the reason I'm old and wise is because God protected me when I was young and stupid. I love that, man. Like,
exactly.
That's exactly. I think about myself too, and like, I am so lucky, right, that God protected me at times from myself.
Right.
From the dumb decisions I was trying to make.
And the thing is we've all made dumb decisions. We've all been there. We've all done that. No use pretending otherwise. And as I like to say, I never fail, but I always learn what doesn't work.
Right.
So if something if something doesn't work, I've learned from it. And I've learned a lot of stuff because a lot of stuff has not worked out. Now I'm wiser for it.
You are, absolutely. So you talked about talking to your younger self. So let's peel another layer back on this onion. And I love younger self.
You want to compare? That's a real picture of me. People may not believe it. But.
So I always ask people, like, whenever they come onto the show, I'm like, tell me about your background, where you came from, give me some kind of photo from growing up. This is the best. Like, and the bar was pretty high. I had Jersey Jerry Foster on here with some photo that I had to put the color in, because he's been around for a minute or two. Yeah. I've had some fun photos. This is great. I love the background. I think we should use that for our show. I don't know exactly what's going on, but there's like a green teal sun layers. I mean, Is this? Are we talking circa the 70s?
We're talking. This was. I want to say
fits right in with the 70s.
I want to say this was probably around my senior year in high school. So we're talking late 70s.
Oh, that's great.
And the background there, I think, is just a drop. I think that was part of my senior pictures or something like that.
That's awesome.
So,
I love the shirt with the collar and
right,
stuff.
Right,
that's coming back around.
The
that could be in
leisure
style today.
suit,
So, if you were going to talk to yourself today, if young Skip Orth was here, what would you say? If you had, like a couple minutes, what would be the lead off for that?
Yeah, I would say, start is when you leave formal education. Dive into learning on your own. Just consume everything that you can, because the majority of information that I've gathered that has been able to propel me to where I am today has not come from formal education. It's come from what I picked up on my own by reading books and listening to listening to programs and whatever. So the thing I would tell my younger self is just start learning as much as you can as early as you can.
That's wonderful. Yeah, the lifestyle of learning, right?
Right.
It also allows you to think critically, right? And for yourself, as opposed to...
That's so important.
My kids are in elementary school, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I do with them, they get their grades back, and we work through it, but I've made a commitment that, hey, I want you to keep trying, but don't think that school is everything. I want you to succeed, but if you get a B or C, whatever, like, we'll keep working through it.
Exactly.
That isn't the measure of you as a person.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
You can make straight A's or not, whatever. It doesn't mean that you're immediately a good person. And ultimately, are you a caring and ethical person?
Yeah.
That's what we're more focused on.
Exactly.
That character development. I think that's lost, because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about Martin Luther King, and I was like, people forget the part where he said that people should be judged by the content of their character.
Right.
We get so focused on the other things, and I was like, listen to what he was saying, right? Character matters.
Yeah.
And now I think a lot of times we're entering a society where, people don't even know what that looks like. Well, what does good character actually mean?
Exactly.
So what does it mean to be humble and care about others and teach folks that? So I love that. That's good stuff. I think if I was talking to my younger self, I would say, calm down, right? Like, you're going to get married. God's going to provide a wife. She's going to be amazing. So just wait on him.
There you go.
Relax.
Yeah.
And you're going to get the chance to live in Florida. So just chill. Because I always wanted to move down here. That was a dream of mine from being a kid.
We did too.
I loved it. And so when I joined the military, I spent so much time trying to navigate my way here, and ultimately it was just an act of God that made it work. Right.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing with my wife. it's definitely a gift from God, not something that I earned or was good enough to achieve. And that's the best blessings in life. So
yeah, for sure.
that's what I would tell myself. So speaking of family, talk to me about family. Talk to me about the Orth family and what that was like for you. How did y'all meet? How did you decide to live here? That whole thing.
So, my wife Teresa and I, as a matter of fact, we just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
So last week we flew out to California to be with our two daughters that live out there to celebrate, and they, helped us celebrate out there. So, yeah, it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey the last 40 years. Yeah. We met in church.
Okay.
And we worked in children's church together and just kind of became friends and worked on projects together. And then eventually that friendship developed into something more, and we ended up getting married. And, and that is actually, that is one thing that I always encourage single people, because I would really hate to be a single person right now, because from what they tell me, the dating scene is just bizarre.
Yeah.
And I've heard so many horror stories of people trying to find their soulmate and everything. And this is, this is the one advice that I would give to single people right now is, don't look for a romantic relationship. Look for a friend.
Yeah.
Start off as friends.
Yes.
No romance, just simple friendship. And just, if it develops from there, great. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. You've gained a friend, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I totally agree. The other thing is putting it in God's hands.
Exactly.
That's something that Catherine and I did. Is I spent so many years, Skip, talking about my younger self, I spent so many years doing it on my own. Is I believed, okay, God established some parameters and rules, and as long as I follow those, I'll figure out the rest, right? And that's not how it works.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. I got to a point after numerous failures in relationships and things like that where I said, okay, God, I want a sign. First date, please, if possible. Is this the right person or not? And if it's not the right person, then I don't want to pursue a relationship, right? So exactly. I'll keep it at friendship and all that stuff. And I started asking God for those signs, as opposed to what I've been doing in the past, which is Wes will figure it out. I can discern, and really when you start to invite God into your love life, it changed for me.
Absolutely.
Because when I had met Catherine, it was 3 or 4 dates or whatever during that year. It was the first time that I really got the sense of God's not saying no, this is an incredible person. And so, like what you said, we pursued a friendship and all those things. And then when it came time to take it further, that was the prayer too.
Yeah.
Is this the right person? I need to sign God. And I saw him answer in incredible ways.
Absolutely.
Living your life that way, where you're in a dialogue with God, trying to make your decisions with him.
Sure.
That one really helped me. So amazing.
But we got married in 1984.
Okay.
And lived in Destin for a year, and then in 1985 we bought our first piece of property in Navarre.
Nice.
What
was it like back then? Well, I'm trying to think, because so in the 80s, I mean, it's nowhere. It's barely on a map. Navarre's not. Destin's not.
Right.
Was Panama City even
kind of. When we told our friends we were moving to Navarre, they were like, "You're going where?"
Yeah.
It was just like you're moving, to another state or something.
Yeah.
But we bought a piece of property, and then we had a mobile home that we had in Destin. We moved the mobile home out, and we've been in that general area off Panhandle Trail ever since.
Everything.
Oh, my goodness.
I think the big, the point of reference is the Publix. Was the Publix here yet or not?
Oh my gosh, there wasn't a grocery store. Dixie wasn't even here.
It wasn't even
a stoplight.
That's the big discriminator.
Yeah, right? We were so happy when Dixie came here because we didn't have to drive to Fort Walton for our groceries anymore.
Yeah.
And then and then kind of Walmart was the big one after that. But when we moved out here, there wasn't.
Now there's 43,000 people plus, right?
Yeah. We had the little. Now we did have the little. Dixie Dandy, I think is where Ace Hardware is now. It was in that building, and they had, it was just like a little store with a butcher shop and everything. And but there was not hardly
completely
anything
different. Yeah. So what to you, as that growth has happened, what have been the positives and then the negatives from that?
Well, I mean, the positives have obviously been it's a whole lot more convenient to live here in Navarre than it was back.
Yeah, you get what you need. Yeah,
I mean, I'm
two Publix, three Publix.
Yeah,
you know?
I know, right? I'm 5 minutes from
go to
Walmart.
east, go to west, right?
Yeah. So it's definitely been, but then you have the congestion and the infrastructure strain and all that kind of stuff that comes with all of the growth. So I mean, all in all, I love it here.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's growth, growing pains that we have, but like you said at the beginning of the show, this is an awesome community. Yeah. Wonderful people. It's just a great. It's even though it's growing, it still feels like a small community.
It does, yeah. I love that, yeah.
And so it's a and we have all these wonderful resources, the beach, and I mean we live in paradise.
We do. So one of the reasons that I fell in love with it, and then my wife especially fell in love with it, is because of that local culture.
Right.
You can go to any military base around the country, and I've been to several, worked at several. And a lot of times the culture right outside the military base is just military folks, right? And there's nothing else, right? It's all military folks. It's all transplants. We come and go and all that kind of stuff. But in Navarre, there's very much a local culture that's resilient and kind of balances that out a little bit, Right. And that's what I love. It's like I love the Southern feel. I love the small town feel, the beach culture, all that stuff.
Yeah, Southern hospitality. That's really. I've had people remark that that have moved in to this area from other places that it's like you go down the street, people wave at you that don't even know you.
Right.
It's like what are they? And I've had people that come from cultures where if you walk down the road, you don't look at anybody because you just maintain no eye contact. And here people smile at you, they open the door for you. When you're going in, it's just I love it.
And the local events, we've had the crew adjusters on here talking about Mardi Gras. They do the Santa Claus thing. We talked about Robert Reyes, the events he's got. Andy D's, like I could go on to the chamber, does incredible stuff. So there's all these ways to connect to the local culture. If you just look right below the surface, it's there. So we've talked about that. We've talked about families. One of the things I love about the things that you do, Skip, is that you're very open about your family. You put it out there, the struggles, the things that you've been through, what motivates you. That's really cool. A lot of people, that's tough to do. They're worried about being judged and all that stuff. But not only do you talk about it, share wisdom on social media, but you also put that in book form, which is awesome. So talk to me about these books that you've put together, and what's the motivation behind that?
Sure. Well, that particular book that I wrote, Letters to Judah. So Judah is my youngest son. Right. He's the youngest of 6. Yeah. Back in 2019, he went into the Marine Corps, and he's still there. But when he was in boot camp, the Marines encouraged us as parents to write our soldiers, Marines every day to keep them encouraged. And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to write every day? My life is not that exciting. I'm going to run out of content, So what I decided to do is I decided to write out all of my favorite quotes, scriptures, and sayings.
You got a copy of it here. Yeah. You guys take a look at it. Yeah.
So
amazing.
I compiled all of my favorite sayings, and each day in a letter I wrote out to him, what that saying meant to me, how I applied it to my life, how he could apply it to his life, and sent it to him in a letter. And then after he graduated from boot camp, I compiled all those letters and put it into a book form.
Yeah, this is my favorite one. So there's several in here that I love, but because it goes back to some of the things you've already talked about. So just giving you guys an excerpt of what he's talking about. Hey, Judah, we just received your letter explaining about the medical issues. I know God has you now, right where he wants you, completely dependent upon him. Although it's not a pleasant place to be, it's always the best place you can be when everything is out of your control and all you have to depend on is God. It's here that you will learn total surrender when your world could come crashing down on you at any time. I can speak this from experience. And then you go on to explain it, a little bit more, but I love that. Like, I love hearing that, and because I think about the times in my life when I've been through some tough times.
Mm-hmm.
Losing my mom, right? Some other issues that we've had. I went through a lot of anxiety and panic problems after Afghanistan, after I was deployed out there.
Yep.
And I know exactly what you're describing, of that place of just surrendering, how scary it is, you know, and to have, you know, your voice, you know, coming at him saying, hey, it's okay. God's got it. I mean, that is cool. That's some good stuff, man. So I love that you shared that, you know, absolutely.
Yeah. And by the way, if anybody, I wrote these books to benefit people. So if anyone out there wants a copy of this, all you have to do is ask me for it.
Yeah.
If we're not, you know, if you're not following me on Facebook, go ahead and follow me, and you can just send me a message through Facebook, and I'd be more than happy to send you a copy of that free of charge, because I just, again, you know, I just love to pour into people, you know, in any way, whether it's through social media or books or whatever. I just like the opportunity to share my life and the things I've experienced with other people.
Well, and I think about people who weren't fortunate enough to have an active father in their lives. So Judah obviously did, you know, empowered him going through that training. And no, Air Force, so not quite as difficult as what he went through, but I remember getting letters like that when I was going through training, and how empowering that is. But not everybody's that fortunate. You know, unfortunately, that's just, you know, the hardships of life. And so holding on to some of that advice, because it's just as applicable to any other person going through a tough thing. And it goes back to what we're talking about of how you kind of frame social media. That's helpful whether you're male, female, whether you're young, old. That place of surrender and putting your hope and your trust in the right place is applicable to anybody going through a tough time. I love that, man. It's so wonderful. So you do that, you inspire people, you do the books, you know, you do all this kind of stuff, content online, but you also make a living. and you do that through a couple different things, the main one being the lawn solution. So talk to me about this. So when it's father and son, who are we talking about, and how did this come about?
Well, so I work with my oldest son, Buddy, and the way that all came about was in 2003. We were homeschooling our kids. Buddy was 13 at the time, and Buddy's very, very intelligent, but he has a struggle with ADD, paying attention, and he struggled with getting 1 page of schoolwork done a day, and my wife was just at her wit's end. Buddy was frustrated. So at the time, I had the ability, time-wise, to say, hey, Buddy, how about if you and I start a father-son landscape business, and I'll use the business as a teaching platform, and I'll homeschool you through the business. So he was all for that. Obviously, he would be, and my wife, you know, liked that. Teresa liked the idea, so that's what we did. So in May of 2003, we launched Father and Son. It was landscape at the time, and we started a business. And what I did is, as we were driving around in the truck, we listened to books on tape. We used the newspaper for current events and things like geography and history, and I used the business as far as, you know, balancing the checkbook and stuff like that to teach him math. And we did that for 4 or 5 years. And then when he turned 18, he took his GED, passed it with flying colors, was in like the top 3%, something like that.
Man, that's amazing.
So yeah, he did really, you know, picked up a lot. He's very, like I say, he's very intelligent. And then he decided he wanted to do something a little different, so he went into the Army for 7 years. And when he came back out, he kind of looked around, trying to decide what he wanted to do, and decided to come back to work with me. And has been with me ever since. And it's been just you know, I feel like I'm living the dream.
I was going to say, there's a couple things I picked up on that. So one of them was the ADD thing, because I've had people close to me wrestle with that. And a lot of times from the books that I've read about it, there can be some frustrations, right? Especially on both sides, you know, because you're asking someone, hey, focus, concentrate, right? Which it's easy for us to do if we don't have it. You know, at the same time, they're trying, you know, like it's not something that they want to struggle with. They have to, you know, wrestle through it, and it's hard for them to, you know, to focus on that. And then at that point, it can lead to a lot of insecurity, you know, because they're like, why am I different? Why am I wrestling with this? But the way that you handled it, you gave him an avenue to be able to develop and overcome and tame that, right? As opposed
Right.
to just coming down, hard on them and things like that. So
Right.
that in itself is beautiful. And then the other part that I picked up on was you chose this, right? Obviously went through the boss, right? Like asked the wife, but you chose this as a path. You offered it, and then he returned, and after a few years, he chose it too, right? Like he
Right.
chose it back,
Right.
and that
Exactly.
to me is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Is he's choosing the family business out of his own, having experienced some other things and grown, and I'm sure developed there as well, but choosing that and getting the chance to continue that relationship, like right there, in your daily life, It's
Yeah.
cool, man. That's
It
really
is.
cool.
It is wonderful. And right now his function in the business is our sales manager.
Okay.
So he has 3 salespeople that he manages, and it's so funny because I've worked with him and just poured myself into him, and now I have the opportunity to see him. Everything that I put in him coming back out, and it's just so rewarding
That's amazing.
as a father.
Yeah.
And it is really, really a wonderful.
Yeah,
thing.
and we've talked a little bit about that before. For me, my kids are young, and I'm learning what it's like to be an active father. I really think we talked about the dangers of modern society and social media, and it's scary. But there's also access to good information, right? There's access to, hey, here's what fathers can do to play a more active role that maybe 20, 30 years ago we hadn't considered, So, and especially as more women are working and things like that, there's a shift, I think,
Right.
in what it means to be a father, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
something that I'm picking up on and seeing kind of the rewards of what that can be. It's kind of exciting. So
Yeah, I feel again, we've got all our kids are grown now, and they're all out of the house. I feel, Wes, I really feel like I've hit the lottery because all our kids are grown. They're all pursuing careers that they love. They're all but one are married, and that's Judy. He's still in the military or the
Marine
Marines,
thing,
and
yeah.
he's not ready for that yet, which is fine. That's wisdom right there. But they're all doing well, and we enjoy a very close relationship with each one of them.
Yeah.
And you know what? That as a parent, you can't ask for anything more than that. What you're going through right now with your kids 8 years old and under.
Yeah.
Everything that you pour into them now, and as between now and when they leave the house, is a foundation for what you will enjoy when they have their own families.
Yeah.
Because that's where the real reward comes in, is when you can enjoy your kids as adults.
Well, like one of the things that, we talked about it for a minute, but, communicating with your son as he's going through a hard time with ADHD, you knew how to talk to him, clearly. Like you knew how to communicate in a way and respect his decision making. That's what I work really hard to do with my kids. Is like, let's get down to their level. Let me not talk to them as an adult, like coming down on them. If I have to do that, like I will, but that's the last resort. The first one is, let me understand where they're at and try to put my head back into that place as best I can. Of like a kid who doesn't have control, doesn't know what's going on. Why am I feeling this way or that?
Right.
And then bring to that point. It's easy the older we get to forget that part, to forget what it's like to be a kid without that control. So I work very hard to do that, to be able to nurture that relationship.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
I'll give you an example. Is one of the first times I put my kids in timeout, they took it really hard, really hard. They're like crying and stuff and everything. And I was like, just put them in timeout for 30 seconds, right? Like it's a minute, And so the next time, and I organized this with my wife, the next time I had the opportunity with both kids in the room, I like dropped a plate, right? Like, and it like broke. And I had my wife put me in timeout, right? I was like, Daddy made a mistake. And then I went like, and took my, big old self and like pointed my nose in the corner for 2 minutes. And I was like, see, Daddy messes up too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not personal, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want them to be scared of me. I want them to develop that relationship and for us to be able to respect one another and things like that. So,
and that, what you say there, I think is one of the most critical things we can do as a parent is, in front of our kids, admit when we're wrong.
Yeah.
And let them and if we've done something that we know to offend them, apologize to them.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever we have to do to keep that relationship open, and keep them from closing off their hearts to us, and keeping that relationship, that's always critical.
It's just now my kids use that at like every juncture. They're like, "Mommy, put him in timeout." Like, I mean, no matter what I say, I'm tell them they can't have dessert, then that's where I'm going to end up or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you do the business, you talked about family and all this stuff. So, but there's another thing that we've talked about briefly, I think, outside of this, and I've worked with several people close to it, but the Set Free Foundation. So this was on the charity aspect. So if it's not enough to do the books and the family life and the business, you're also adding a charity to your repertoire of things that you're doing. So can you talk to me about what the impetus is behind this? What led you to do that? And I think you got a book on it.
Sure, I do, and we'll
this one I haven't read. So full disclosure, I'd love to read this one.
Yeah. So long story short, 10, 12 years ago, I just developed a real passion for the anti-human trafficking cause.
Yeah.
And when I discovered the cause, I just really dove into it to discover as much as I could about it, read stories of survivors, and really delve into it. And the more I read, the more I learned, the more I just really felt that I needed to do something to aid in the anti-human
It's a
trafficking
huge
cause.
problem in this area too.
Everywhere.
Yeah, my wife's talks about that too, because she works at a church and stuff, and they look at what they can do to support it. Pensacola area, all that kind of stuff. It's a huge problem.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But so a few years ago, my business got to the point to where we were able to actually start a foundation, a nonprofit, and support it through the business. And at first, we initially started it with the intention and vision of creating a house, a shelter, to bring in human trafficking survivors and shelter them. However, what we discovered after getting into it was that the funding needs for that came out to be about $20,000 a month for staffing and everything, which we just were not able to do. So what we did is we kind of took a step back, and we said, okay, we have an organization here. We have some good volunteers. We do have a lot going for us. What can we do with what we have? So in everything that we had been doing up to that point, mental health for sexually traumatized women had always been a real key point for us. So we said, okay, this is what we can do. We can create a foundation, and we can help women who have been sexually traumatized through sexual assault or trafficking or whatever. And if they cannot afford therapy for their to see a therapist, then what we can do is we can help fund that therapy. So that's what we've transitioned to now, and it's going very well. We have several cases that we're funding, several clients of therapists that we're funding. So we don't provide the services. We partner with other trauma therapists that if they have a client that wants to see them, but they don't have insurance, they don't have the funds to pay for the therapy, then what we'll do is we'll provide that funding.
That's awesome, man. So I have some thoughts on that for sure. And I'm not putting you on the spot by any stretch, but one of the big passions that I have for Navarre is bringing people together, right? Is trying to figure out, like, okay, this person's got skills for that, this person's got skills for this, and be able to get them to work together. And so just as you kind of move forward in that, I've got some ideas that I'll have to share with you later, but some different folks, because we talked about like the incredible people that make Navarre what it is. They're just doing this little simple show. Takes several folks that kind of invested in it and things like that. It's not just me, right? Like it's people helping me do it. And I think as you go through this journey, there's all kinds of folks in Navarre that I hope can kind of come out there and like help propel it forward. Right?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, we've had dozens of volunteers help us with fundraising, which is the biggest challenge. We had our second annual gala in January, and that went really well.
Awesome.
We've already got our third one scheduled for January at St. Sylvester's Church here, which again is at St. Sylvester's. Let me just say, they are a huge, again, talk about heroes in Navarre.
Absolutely. Father Kelly.
Huge. We love them over there. They're wonderful with supporting the community and community projects and events.
Well, and we're one of those folks that want to help. So you just let us know. But I'm excited to read this. I'm going to get a copy of this one for sure, because this book, it kind of goes through. If I understand it correctly, you have to tell me. It goes through kind of what led you to this point and explains the issues. Is that right?
Yeah. So human trafficking is just really kind of a difficult subject to talk about. There's so many aspects to it. And so what I did, I wrote a book. Instead of trying to sit down and have a conversation with someone, it's easier to just kind of hand them a book and say, hey, this is something that's I'm really passionate about, and I'd like to give this to you. And in the book, I do talk about kind of what led me to being a part of the human trafficking cause, and I give 2 fictional stories of how it's common for human trafficking to take place, and then talk about what victims of human trafficking go through, and then if you want to get involved in the cause, how to do that. So again, if anyone's interested in that book, it's at my office. I'd be happy. You can drop by and pick up a copy, or I'd be happy to mail you one. Just request one from me, and I'll give you. I'll send it to you.
What I love about the way that you're framing that, because you talked a few minutes ago about you got this family, wife's doing well, your kids, talk. That's great. Like, it's awesome for Skip, but what about these other folks that don't have that? Well, I can't think of anybody who's struggling for that more than someone who's gone through this, right?
Absolutely.
And so it'd be easy for someone, I think, in your situation to say, well, hey, I've done well. Like, I got my business. I'm going to just chill back, relax and enjoy my success. No, like, you're actively using that to jump into the other part of society, right? The folks that aren't benefiting from, having a stable family.
Right. Well, I'm a firm believer in giving back. I think that everyone has an opportunity to give back, even if it's just a little bit. And the more you've been blessed, the more opportunity you have to give back. So, any way that I have to give back, I think that I need to take advantage of that.
I wanted to share this with you. People have probably seen this before. The iceberg. If you haven't, this is one of my favorite analogies. It's the what people see and what people don't see, right? Like, people see the stuff on social media. They see people smiling, and most people put out their best selves on social media or whatever, right? But there's so much more. And this talks about success, but I would say there's even more to it than just success. Success is fine, but to what end, right?
Right.
When we talk about character, right? What builds that character? And I think, just kind of my opinion on this, because of things that you've been through and overcome in life, I think that's where that heart comes from. If you're given all this stuff, then cool, great. But not only have you earned it, you've had to fight for it and deal with setbacks and overcome. And so people in a tough spot, that's the kind of voice they need to hear is, you can overcome this. You can, you can move forward. The same thing that you said to your son of, if you feel like you don't have control, surrender to God, trust him, look for ways, to be able to overcome with those, that are close to you, right?
Right.
And the same thing for someone that's a victim, you're going to have all this mental baggage, what do you do, right?
Right.
Same thing that Judah did, right? You trust God through this, and you open yourself up to investment from people that love you.
Right.
So it's beautiful, man.
For sure.
Great stuff. So, all right, let me see what we got here. Let's see what, in terms of comments, we always love to go through the comments on the show. So had a couple people jump in, and I think they know you. They said, Skip is the man. Tom was on here. Yeah, we improved the sound and the lights, Tom, so I had the Divergent Spectrum guys help me with that. Donna's on here. She said Skip is the best. Tom liked one of the prayers that you had said. Nancy said the sayings he shares are meaningful to more people than he realizes. And that's the best kind, right?
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. People, the encouragement that I get, and I get it occasionally, and I'm always appreciative of that.
Yeah. That's the best kind, is when you give and you don't know where it went. You just know that it helped. Like, that's all that you need, right? Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So we talked about that one. Yep. So Chaz on here, he said, "Congrats on the book, Skip." So
Thanks.
absolutely. Do you have any more planned, or are you good? Like, have you done?
Well, no, actually,
Yeah.
I've got a couple more in here. I'm working the one I'm working on right now. I've got Letters to Judah,
Yep.
which is encouragement now. So my oldest daughter just had her first grandchild.
Okay.
So I'm doing Letters to Destiny, and it's
Nice.
going to be on child raising.
Nice.
Yeah, a father's perspective on child raising.
I will take some of that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one I need. Yeah.
And then the next one I have lined up after that is, so my youngest daughter just got married.
Okay.
So I'm going to do Letters to Michaela on married life.
Great.
On advice on married life.
Well, y'all need that, right?
Yeah. And then I've got, so yeah, I'm going to be writing for a while.
That's awesome, man. I encourage you to keep doing it, man. I think it's wonderful. And we talked about the like Jenny's on here and a couple others. We talked about the heroes of Navarre and the rich culture, and I see you, man. I see you as the sage of Navarre, like the wisdom, right? Like, because we've got all these folks. I'll go back to kind of the picture that I had here. We've got like the people that are out there in their careers doing incredible things and earning stuff. You're kind of on that place where your career has given back to you, and now there's wisdom to share. And man, I if there's any way to propel that forward, to help people as they go through life, to be able to hold on to that wisdom, sort through all the crap that's on social media and get to the good stuff. So as often as you're willing to share that, this is definitely a place that's open to you, Skip, as well. So, hey, thank y'all for jumping in. This is always fun, just as I hoped it'd be. An incredible conversation with Skip. So we'll have some clips of this over the next week, and then we'll have those anytime y'all want to watch. So every Thursday at 7 p.m. is when we do this. Encourage your friends to subscribe. Jump in. You can email us at Preserve Navarre anytime you want if you've got feedback or guests that you'd like to see on the show. You've got more questions for Skip. What's the best way for them to reach you? So I know you get the business and all that stuff.
Yeah. So probably if you want to reach out to me, the best way would be through Facebook.
Facebook, yep, absolutely.
Messenger, yeah. Just follow me on Facebook. Send me a message.
No, you can ask for books that way.
Yeah, you can ask for books that way.
That's the best part of being local. You're right down the street. So,
right.
Hey, thank you again, man. I really appreciate it. So,
my pleasure.
Yes,
It's
sir.
been
And thank
wonderful.
you, everybody that jumped in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.